Welcome to Heart of the Elder Years. This is where the quiet truths of aging are finally spoken. Today's story is called Growing Old is Not for the Weak. Because aging isn't just about time, it's about strength, silence, and everything no one ever warned you about. Not everything about aging is spoken out loud. But here, at Heart of the Elder Years, we say what others leave unspoken. This is the story of strength, grief, memory, and quiet courage. It's called Growing Old is Not for the Weak, What No One Told You About Aging. They told you aging would be peaceful, that it would be slower, quieter, even restful. But they never told you how much of yourself you'd have to let go of. They never said that someday you'd sit in a room full of people and feel completely invisible. Or that the loudest sound you'd hear is the silence of someone not calling. They warned you about wrinkles, not about the ache of being forgotten. They mentioned your hair turning gray, but not how the world might stop seeing you altogether. What they didn't say, what no one says, is that growing old requires more strength than anyone ever told you. Not the strength to run or lift or build, but the kind that keeps you breathing when grief sits quietly on your chest. The kind that helps you smile when your hands shake, when your knees ache, when your name feels like an echo. It doesn't happen all at once. At first, people still ask for your opinion. They still invite you, still light up when you walk into a room. But slowly, gently, the world begins to drift. The phone rings less. Conversations happen without your voice in them. And you begin to shrink, not in size, but in presence. You sit a little quieter, watch a little longer. You start wondering when you stopped being part of the world's story and became just a witness to it. You begin to understand that love, too, changes. You begin to understand that love, too, changes. It softens, it steadies. It no longer needs grand gestures or constant reassurance. It becomes something quieter, like a hand reaching for yours in silence. A look that says, "I'm still here." A memory that keeps showing up, uninvited but welcome. Some of the people you loved the longest are no longer here. You speak their names softly when you're alone, not out of sadness, but out of devotion. Because grief, at its core, is just love with nowhere to go. You find yourself talking to those who've passed, asking for their wisdom, smiling at something they once said. And though no one else hears those conversations, you do, and they keep you company. In the stillness of your days, you learn to become your own companion. You sit with your thoughts. You greet your feelings without trying to fix them. You give yourself space to simply exist without needing to achieve, impress, or explain. And somehow, in that space, you rediscover parts of yourself you didn't know were still there. The girl who used to dance barefoot in the kitchen, the boy who once believed in forever, the mother, the father, the lover, the friend, all the versions of you that still live inside whispering, "You mattered, you still do." Even the pain has softened around the edges. It no longer burns, it hums. It reminds you that you lived deeply, that you dared to care. You would not trade that, even if it came with ache. There are fewer people now, fewer birthdays to remember, fewer holidays to host. But what remains is real. One true friend, a quiet porch, a photo in a frame that you straighten each morning, the sound of birds returning at the same time every day. These things are not small, they are everything. The world may see you as old, but they don't see the oceans you've crossed, the tears you've swallowed, the wisdom you've gathered like stones in your pocket. They don't know how many times you chose kindness when anger would have been easier. How many times you stayed silent, not because you had nothing to say, but because peace mattered more than being right. And now, here you are. Not at the end, but somewhere soft, somewhere sacred. You're not who you were, and that's okay. Because what you've become is gentler, wiser, braver. You've learned that being alone is not the same as being lonely. That stillness isn't emptiness. That aging is not a fading, it's a becoming. The truth no one told you is this: growing old is not about disappearing. It's about becoming more deeply who you've always been. And if anyone asks whether growing old is hard, let them know it is. But it's also beautiful. And you are walking through it with more grace than anyone ever sees. There are things you used to chase: recognition, success, being heard, being right, being remembered. Now you chase nothing. You let things come. You welcome the days as they arrive, soft, quiet, simple. There's no longer pressure to be anyone but who you are. You wear what's comfortable. You say less, but mean more. You sit in the sun longer than you used to, and you're not in a hurry to get up. You start saying thank you more often, not out of politeness, but from a deeper place, as if gratitude is the only language you still trust. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for this morning light. Thank you for another day, even if it looks like the one before it. Because now you know, sameness is not something to escape. It's something to embrace. There's beauty in repetition. There's holiness in ordinary things. You watch younger people rush through their days, missing the sunset, ignoring the breeze, scrolling past their own life. And you want to tell them, slow down, look around. None of this lasts forever. But you don't always speak, because you remember being them. And you know some lessons must be lived, not taught. Still, sometimes you wish someone would ask you what you've learned, what time has revealed, what matters most now. Because you've learned that nothing is more valuable than peace of mind. That love is not what you say, it's what you stay for. That presence is the greatest gift anyone can give. And that the people who held your hand in silence, who sat with you when words failed, are the ones who etched themselves into your soul. There are moments now when you feel something unexpected, not sadness, not longing, but contentment. The kind that comes when nothing is missing, not because you have everything, but because you've stopped needing more. Your life is no longer measured in accomplishments, but in meaning. You don't count years, you count mornings like this. The warm mug in your hand, the way the sky turns golden just for a second before fading into dusk. You look around at the life you've built, even with its cracks and broken edges, and you whisper, this was enough, I was enough, and you are. So if someone asks you now, was it worth it? You can smile gently and say, every scar, every silence, every goodbye. Yes, it was all worth it. Because you didn't just grow older, you grew deeper, you grew wiser. You grew into someone who understands what love looks like when it's quiet, what courage feels like when no one is watching, and what it means to simply keep going with your heart still open. And that is not weakness. That is the kind of strength this world forgets to honor. And maybe, just maybe, you didn't age, you unfolded. You, who are still young, who are rushing, building, chasing. Let an old heart whisper something to yours. Call your parents, visit your grandparents. Ask them to tell you stories, even the ones they've told before. Because one day their voices will become memories, and you'll wish you had asked more. Sit with them, not just on holidays, not just when it's convenient. Sit with them when they're quiet, when they don't know how to ask for your time, when all they really want is your presence. Don't be afraid of their slowness. Walk at their pace. They once slowed down for you when your legs were too small, when your words were still learning to form. Now return the kindness. Listen, not to respond, but to remember. One day you'll be where they are, and you'll understand. You'll see that the greatest tragedy isn't getting old. It's being old and feeling forgotten. So don't let your love be silent. Don't let your gratitude be saved for a eulogy. Say what matters now, while they're still here to hear it. And when the day comes that you grow old too, may someone sit beside you, hold your hand and say, I see you. I still need you. You still matter. Because you will. And maybe then, this whole circle of life, this ache, this beauty, this long road we all walk, will feel just a little bit softer. Not all lessons are taught in classrooms. Some are lived quietly.